Good day. My name is Natanya Dreyer. I am the team leader for learning and awareness at CapeNature, and I'm very excited to be presenting Combating Nature Deficit Disorder, Changing Behaviour through Creating Nature-Enriched Lives. There is a brilliant book by Richard Louv called Vitamin N, which gives its reader 500 ways to enrich their lives through contact with nature. He refers to nature as this vitamin N. And truly, this is in essence what my presentation is about today. How nature, or if you want to call it vitamin N, can be used not only as a tool for wellness and well-being, but also how it can affect change in attitude and beliefs, which in essence translates into this behavior change over time. As humans, we have this ingrained part of us that needs to connect to the natural world. In times gone past, it was part of our daily lives. We needed to use the stars or the sun to tell direction. We would hunt and gather for food. And in this way, we had to connect to nature all the time. We connected it every single day. But unfortunately, in today's modern world, in this ever-growing urban jungle that we find ourselves in, this connection has become a lot harder. And even for those that live in rural areas, rushed lives have left very little room for people to connect with nature in a really meaningful way. And in short, we are suffering from this thing called a nature deficit or nature deficit disorder. Now, CapeNature, through its learning and awareness program, really hopes to reconnect people to nature to counteract this deficit, whether it be through access for education or spiritual or cultural reasons, or even for job creation or income generation. We want to connect people to nature because we really believe it's key to conservation. It's the people-nature action connection that we're looking at. By connecting people to nature, they learn to value it. And at the end of the day, we protect what we value. And in the end, the hope is that we will change our behavior if we really need to. So everything that we do in the people space at CapeNature encourages this connection. And I'm hoping to showcase some of that today. So we'll be looking at learning and awareness in the context of this connection. It's all about ensuring connection through our learning and awareness programs. And I'm going to start with this quote, which I absolutely love because it summarizes everything about meaningful program facilitation. It's not just about connecting with nature, but the nature of the connection that matters. I'll let that sink in for 1 second. You can take a group into nature, let them walk around, talk and enjoy. Will they connect? Perhaps. But the chances are that they're not really connecting because the time spent in nature is not truly meaningful. They're probably talking to each other as they walk, not really looking and immersing themselves in the experience, or maybe looking at things through their cameras, taking pictures as they go. The beautiful part of this is that nature honestly does the work itself, and we as facilitators only need to guide the participants' direction in a specific way, and nature will actually do the talking itself. I'm going to use this picture that I've put up on the screen as an example. It's a very busy beach, there's some ocean in the background, lots of things happening. But if I was to ask you to find Waldo in the picture, immediately I'm going to focus your attention on something specific. Firstly, you wouldn't have known to find Waldo if I hadn't asked you to find Waldo. The second thing is if I was maybe to direct your attention to a very specific part of the beach and say, Waldo is probably close to the umbrella on the beach, you would then focus your attention closer to the bottom right-hand side and you'd start really looking. You're going to now start looking at detail, not just that fuzziness, which is all the people on the beach. You're going to actually start looking for Waldo. You're going to start looking for an umbrella. So that would kind of be the second step. And the last step for food for thought is, what if I was to tell you when you're on that beach to put your feet in the sand and feel the sand? Feel the sand, listen to the sound of the oceans. And suddenly this picture becomes absolutely alive. So just to explain this a little bit better in more detail, we use 5 steps when we facilitate better connection with nature. We work with children and adults in a slightly different way and obviously adjust the program accordingly. One of the techniques we use is to get people to slow down. Another one that we use is to get them to share, because we find that sharing experiences really helps you create a better understanding of what you've just experienced yourself. And then we also use the senses, because each sense is honestly a doorway to learning and exploring and connecting. And then finally, the last, but definitely not least, is the what we call the refills. How do you get participants to go home and keep connecting with nature on a daily basis? And I'm hoping through sharing some of the programs that we offer with you, I can go into a little bit more detail about each of these. So obviously the first step to running a program in a meaningful manner is to ensure staff are trained and know what they're doing. And we really need to credit the Masiembo Association for making this possible. Through this partnership, we were able to get them to come and train all our staff in the nature allied training methodology, which we use now in most our programs moving forward. So to connect our staff themselves was very important and let them go through this experience themselves. In the bottom left picture, you can see one of the staff members holding the talking stick, and this is through a sharing experience, which had happened straight after the picture on the top right, where we were told to go and find a spot, sit down, and just immerse ourselves in that experience, to zoom in on nature, to zoom out on nature. It was done in silence. You had no idea of the time. You didn't know when you were going to be called back. And it was actually quite an intense experience for all our staff members. It was just about sitting there and connecting. And initially, it was quite difficult because you are so busy all the time. Just sitting and being in a moment can actually be quite difficult. So once our staff were trained up, we could obviously then take what we'd learned back and implement it into our programs. One of these programs was our holiday programs, which have been running for 3 years now. And it is really another example of how we are trying to help our visitors' children better connect with nature while already visiting our nature reserves. All the programs are fully activity-based and obviously encourage the elements of self-learning and discovery. We do a lot of arts and craft, and then of course all these meaningful moments that we create. In a world where children are often on their digital devices 24/7, programs such as these really bring them into a space where they can reconnect in nature in this very virtual age of ours. Access Week is also an incredibly important week for CapeNature because the public get to visit our reserves free of charge. Each year, CapeNature offers sponsored events to the reserves, many times for groups that would never be able to get there or afford it themselves. So it really is a week that caters to the local communities living in and around the nature reserves. Now, in the pictures, you can also see some examples of these connection to nature activities that we facilitate. Your bottom left picture is somebody guiding another who has their eyes closed. And only when they walk and they find something that is of value to look at and capture in a really picturesque manner, almost like a photo frame, they will tap the person on their shoulder, who then can open their eyes and capture that moment and that picture in their mind's eye. They then close their eyes again and walk to the next spot and then swap and take turns. The picture in the top middle is where we get them to really immerse themselves with their senses by feeling the sand beneath their feet, by smelling the air, by cupping their ears so they can hear more, and just really getting them to immerse themselves in the space that they are in. We also offer a variety of programs, not just Access Week, throughout the year, and we facilitate something quite similar under different themes. The Cape Nature Cubs Club is a free incentive-based club that was originally designed during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic to encourage children to continue to connect with conservation and to work towards applying positive environmental behavior. So this is a fantastic one for getting children to connect from home. Nearby urban nature is just as essential as wilderness areas, and connections are possible at home in this way. This is where the Cubs Club comes into play. It's an incentive-based club, and members receive all sorts of rewards, starting with a really nice welcome pack and 20% discount off accommodation for their birthdays. The most important incentive, however, is the prizes that they can win for participating in green action projects, which we set out in our quarterly newsletter. So here are just some examples of how kids are working from home to become green ambassadors. And of course, for each action they undertake, they earn points. And once they reach 200 points under a specific category, they are then awarded that specific button badge. For example, we have a waste warrior or a water champion button badge. I'm very happy also to say that more recently we've hosted a reward ceremony for the top members at a lovely camp getaway at Grootvadersbos Nature Reserve. Really getting them to connect to nature in a beautiful wilderness area. And we do hope now to ensure a few more contact events are held annually, and we are definitely working towards group sign-ups as well. Of course, the most important part of a program is measuring how successful it is and if we are in fact making a difference. So CapeNature embarked on a pilot impact assessment of all its fire awareness programs, and we looked at 254 children in grade 5 and 72 adults and assessed their knowledge before and after, as well as their attitudes and beliefs before and after the program. It was really fantastic to find that with the children, 89% of them had an increase in knowledge after they'd had a program with CapeNature. And for the adults, 87% of the adults had shown an increase in knowledge. The knowledge was a little bit different, so that the amount of knowledge gained extra was slightly different, showing a lot more with the children, where we showed a 46% increase in knowledge, and the adults showing only a 15% increase in knowledge. And then, very importantly, the attitudes and beliefs. 87% of all the children in grade 5 showed a huge change in attitude and belief after they'd had the program with CapeNature, where 79% of adults showed a change in attitudes and beliefs. So it definitely shows that the programs we are undertaking are definitely making a difference, and it's really rewarding to see this difference being made. So as I get to the end of my presentation, we've looked at connecting staff, connecting visitors, connecting communities, and even measuring that connection. How about connecting ourselves? I would like to invite you to relax. Look around you for any hint of nature. You might be in an office building. It might just be a pot plant in the corner. If you're lucky enough to have windows, look outside the windows. Look at the clouds. If the window is open, listen to the wind. Listen to the birds, and allow nature to do the heavy lifting for you for 1 minute. Connect for a while. Love nature.